Today we're diving into 5 bizarre psychology tricks that actually work. Strange little shortcuts that are backed by real science. If you enjoy discovering these hidden cheats of human behavior, hit like and subscribe. And do it quickly, before your brain forgets and convinces you to go watch cat videos instead. And trick number 1, the Ben Franklin effect. If you want someone to like you, your first instinct is probably to do something nice for them. You buy them a coffee, you offer help with a project, or you try to be extra generous. But here's the twist. Psychology says that if you want to build trust and connection, the more effective method is to ask them for a favor. This is called the Ben Franklin effect, and it turns traditional thinking upside down. The story goes that Franklin had a political rival who disliked him. Instead of trying to win him over with flattery or gifts, Franklin asked to borrow a rare book. The man agreed, Franklin returned it with thanks, and suddenly the relationship changed. That small act of helping forced the rival's brain into a contradiction. Why would I help someone I dislike? Maybe I don't dislike him as much as I thought. Modern psychology backs this up. In experiments, people who were asked to return winnings, lend an object, or share advice consistently rated the asker more favorably afterwards. Our brains don't like cognitive dissonance, so we rationalize it away. By doing a favor, we convince ourselves the other person must be likable. The best part? The favor doesn't need to be huge. Something as simple as asking for a book recommendation or borrowing a pen can start the process. Just don't go too far, too fast. Nobody enjoys being manipulated, and asking someone to drive you to the airport on day 1 of a friendship will probably backfire. But when used wisely, the Ben Franklin effect is a surprisingly powerful social tool. You don't win people over by giving. You win them over by giving them a chance to give to you. Trick number 2. Clench your muscles for willpower. Willpower feels like an invisible muscle, and most of us have felt it run out at the worst possible time. You swear you won't eat dessert. You promise you'll keep working, but suddenly the cake is gone. Or you're scrolling endlessly on your phone. That's where this odd hack comes in. Clenching your actual muscles can strengthen your mental ones. Researchers found that when participants tightened their fists, flexed their arms, or pressed their hands together, they made choices requiring more self-control. People endured pain longer, stuck with unpleasant but beneficial tasks, and resisted temptations more effectively. The science behind this is fascinating. When we clench, our bodies mimic a state of resistance and determination. Think about when you naturally do it. Bracing for a challenge, holding back frustration, or pushing through physical strain. That physical cue seems to activate a mental one, signaling to the brain that it's time to toughen up. The effect doesn't last forever. It's a temporary boost, like flipping a switch. But in key moments, it can be enough to tip the scale in your favor. Next time you're on the edge of giving in, clench your fists for a few seconds and notice how your brain recalibrates. Of course, context matters. You don't want to be in the middle of a quiet library exam and suddenly flex like a bodybuilder, and you can't walk around tense all day. It would look strange and be exhausting. But used strategically, this technique works. Treat it like an emergency reserve of willpower, something to tap when temptation or doubt threatens to take over. The next time your brain whispers just one cookie, let your muscles answer back with not today. Trick number 3. Chew gum to focus. Most people chew gum for the taste or to freshen their breath, but research suggests that it can do much more. It can sharpen your focus and improve memory. In one study, participants were asked to perform a lengthy listening task while some chewed gum and others didn't. The gum chewers performed noticeably better, staying alert longer and recalling more details. It might sound ridiculous that a stick of gum could change your brain's performance, but the mechanism makes sense. Chewing increases blood flow to the brain, particularly to areas that handle attention and working memory. There's also something about the repetitive rhythmic motion that seems to keep the brain engaged without becoming distracting. Think of it like background stimulation, just enough to prevent your mind from wandering. Another possible benefit is stress reduction. Chewing gum has been linked to lower cortisol levels, meaning it may calm nerves that would otherwise sabotage your focus. This might explain why students chewing gum during exams sometimes perform better, not because gum makes them smarter, but because it lowers stress and helps them access what they've already learned. Some people even use gum as a kind of memory trigger. If you chew one flavor while studying and then chew the same flavor during a test, the familiar taste and motion can act as a cue, nudging your brain to recall information learned in the same context. It's called state-dependent memory, and while it won't make you a genius, it could give you a small edge. Gum is cheap, portable, and easy to try. The next time you're fighting drowsiness or tackling a boring task, pop a piece in and see if your focus sharpens. At worst, you end up with fresh breath. At best, you walk away sharper and more productive. Trick number 4. Walk for creativity. Creativity doesn't always strike when you're sitting at a desk staring at a blank screen. In fact, some of the best ideas arrive when you're doing something completely different, like taking a shower or pacing around the room. That's because movement frees your brain in ways stillness cannot. A Stanford University study showed that walking increased creative output by about 60%. Participants asked to come up with novel uses for objects generated far more ideas while walking than sitting. Even better, the creative boost lingered after they stopped moving. Why does walking help? One explanation is that it changes your environment. When you're stuck, staring at the same space only reinforces the mental block. Walking introduces new sights, sounds, and rhythms, which help your brain form fresh connections. Another explanation is physiological. Movement increases blood flow and oxygen delivery to the brain, fueling the very processes tied to imagination. History is filled with famous walkers who relied on this hack. Beethoven composed while walking, Darwin took daily strolls at Down House, and Steve Jobs was notorious for walking meetings. They knew what science later confirmed. When the body is in motion, the mind follows suit. You don't need to trek across mountains to see results. Even a 10-minute walk around the block can reset your perspective. If going outside isn't an option, pacing in a hallway or walking on a treadmill can still help. The point isn't exercise, it's movement. The next time you're banging your head against a problem, stop fighting it. Step away, take a walk, and let your brain untangle itself. Often the solution you've been chasing will show up when you're no longer chasing it. Trick number 5. Red versus blue color hack. Colors aren't just decoration, they influence how your brain processes tasks. A groundbreaking study from the University of British Columbia asked hundreds of participants to perform tasks against either red or blue backgrounds. The results were dramatic. Those exposed to red excelled at detail-oriented work, such as proofreading, remembering facts, and avoiding errors. Those who saw blue produced almost twice as many creative solutions to open-ended problems. The psychology behind this comes from our associations with colors. Red is linked to warning signs, danger, and correction. It primes the brain for vigilance, making us sharper at spotting mistakes. Blue, by contrast, is associated with the sky and the sea, vast and calming spaces that signal safety. This sense of ease opens the door for imaginative thinking. By nudging your brain into different mental states, colors act as subtle performance enhancers. How can you use this in daily life? Surround yourself with red cues when tackling precise tasks. Use red pens, red folders, or even a red screen background for editing work. When brainstorming or tackling creative projects, add blue sticky notes, a blue lamp, or a digital workspace with a blue theme. These cues don't need to be overwhelming. Small touches are enough to tilt your brain in the right direction. It's worth noting that the effect is situational. Too much red can feel stressful. Too much blue can encourage daydreaming. The trick is balance. Think of colors as tools in your mental toolkit. Reach for red when you need accuracy. Switch to blue when you want imagination. It's a subtle adjustment with surprisingly powerful results. And there you have it. 5 weird psychology tricks you can actually use in everyday life. Ask someone for a favor to build a connection. Clench your muscles for a quick dose of willpower. Chew gum when you need to stay sharp. Walk when your ideas won't come. And use red or blue to tilt your brain toward focus or creativity. These tricks might sound odd, but they're backed by history, research, and human behavior. Try one today and see what happens. At worst, you'll get a laugh out of it. At best, you'll unlock a strange new edge hidden in your own mind. If you want more weird science and brain hacks, subscribe now so you don't miss the next experiment.